How to contact your incarnational selves. We have 7 incarnational selves in a incarnational cycle. The 7 is sort of the 7 heavens, the 7 chakras, the 7 colors of the rainbow. These are actually an infinite spectrum that the mind breaks into 7, and in our reality. And these 7, these other incarnations of ours can help us, and we can help them, and they're us, so they want to help us, and we're good to work together. If we can't work together, then we're not ready to end the incarnational cycle. We have to be able to come together at the 7th, because we have to start from 1, go through to the 7th, and combine so that we've resolved all of the various issues that we set out to resolve. And these issues are their feeling tones. The first incarnation, they respond with the rainbow in colors and feeling tones: red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, violet. Now, red is an emotional color. Red, orange is transitional to yellow, which is the categorical mind, where the mind comes in and starts to categorize things that you've emotionally been experiencing. And then green is the creative mind, where now you're taking the categorical mind and you're spinning it around so that you're creating new things out of it. You're creating new things emotionally out of mind. And then to blue. Blue is considered the Buddha plane, or the Buddhist color, and that is a balancing of emotion and mind. Red and green, RGB. See, those are the colors of light, the basic colors of light. And so blue is the where you work to when you move or do anything emotional, your mind is with you, and you're doing it perfectly, so you don't make any mistakes because your mind knows what it's doing. You're not just haphazardly going and doing something, grab a sandwich or something. You're thoughtfully doing things. And then from there, we go to indigo and violet, which are transitional back to the next higher octave, red, corresponding to the musical major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back to C. C would be the emotional part of building block of music, of chakras, incarnational selves, shown by the rainbow. So the rainbow is sort of it's there to kind of let us know what's going on. And so this is pretty universal. I've studied in theosophy is by Madame Blavatsky and Annie Besant, I think, and they worked with this, and they came up with these different color feeling tones. And so we have 7 incarnational selves. Some of them might be past, some of them are future, but we're in the 7th incarnation around, so we're generally at the end of a incarnational cycle. And when you reach the end of an incarnational cycle, you are at the point where you can have an opportunity to break that cycle if you can bring yourselves together. If you can't, you begin a new cycle, and you have to go all the way through it to the end of 2,000 or 3,000 years. So the mind, or the reality is not, we're not of a flat earth, and we're not of a round earth. We're at a strand of consciousness, and that consciousness puts forth personalities, 7 personalities, as like cornerstones, keystones, towards whatever purpose that entity or your entity is trying to accomplish. And so it's critical, particularly we being in the 7th round now, to make contact with those who, and they want to contact us, but we don't. We're told don't listen to them, don't believe them, you don't hear voices, so we're purposely blinded by the society. And the religions know this all except Christianity, because Christianity has many things right, like love your brother and all that, but they're focusing on the crucifixion of Jesus. And this is not the way. This is not the way. Is that you're focusing on negative things. You're focusing on pain and suffering. Nobody needs to suffer. So our reality is composed of consciousness changing, and we see that as, or we call that time. And our metronome for that is your Earth in rotation about its axis and about the sun, and that's how we keep track of time. But that's just movement of our reality is spinning. And so now I want to get into how to contact yourselves, your incarnate, because I am in contact with 2 or 3 of them. I say 2 or 3 because 2 significantly and 1 or 2 others less significantly. And so the Seth Jane Roberts material, very popular metaphysical information from the 1970s in reprint today. Seth says to sit down and look about you with all the lights in the room, and then shut your eyes. Close your eyes and imagine that all the lights on the stage just went out, because you're looking at essentially a stage when you're looking out at the world. So the lights have gone out. And now begin searching through the darkness and intentionally look for your incarnational selves. And Seth says, look for them and they will come and they'll contact you. And then you can make communication with them, and you can communicate, and then you and they can work together. Now, your incarnational selves are with you. You just don't know it. They are your guardian angels, the God that you sense. That's them. Your own incarnational selves that are a part of you, and they're a part of Jesus and Krishna and everything. So that's true that you don't walk alone, but your incarnational selves are your closest and most deepest resource. So they're very important. Now, I read the Seth books back in 1970s, but I didn't really pay much attention to the methods. I was more interested in the Dharma or the information. And so it wasn't until 2020 when we had the lockdown of what I call a phony pandemic, where we were isolated in our homes, and that put me in touch with Seth. Now, prior to that, I was already in touch with my father who'd passed, because I could feel his presence, and I had developed a kind of a communication with my father, where I could ask him a question internally or physically, and he could only answer internally. He generally didn't answer, but I could sense it, because there's telepathic communication between us. And then if I'm not sure, he would answer like a nod yes or a no, or there was also a no yes, which means the nod yes means keep talking, the no nod means no, and the no yes means yes. So no yes, and this is kind of a universal language. Buddhists have this also with Kuan Yin when they're trying to contact her. They use a similar idea. So since I was in contact with my father, and I was doing writing, I'm a writer. So I was writing books, and I was looking for information, and I'd ask him questions, and he would go and come back within 2 seconds with answers. And those 2 seconds, he was contacting Seth. And eventually, like I said, at the start of the lockdown in March of 2020, I came in contact with Seth. He was already here, but I didn't know it. He had actually, anyway, so I came into close contact with him, and he told me to get in touch with Cleopatra. And Cleopatra I already knew from earlier working with incarnational selves that she is my first incarnation in seventh. She was the first. I'm the seventh, and then she immediately came right there and started talking to me internally. But I could hear her voice, but it was an internal voice. And this is all telepathic, because everything is telepathy. We're Gestalt awareness. When we think of somebody, our minds merge, and we telepathically communicate. Their thoughts become our thoughts, and we learned what is ours and what is theirs to some degree. And I use head nods to confirm when I'm not sure. So this is what happened, and then from there she told me, she put me in touch with other incarnational selves, and she told me that I need to resolve all of the seven together into one. They'll come into me, but there were other possibilities that I could resolve into them, and so she put me in. I thought Cleopatra would return, which I think she will. I'm not sure, but she put me in touch with Dolly Madison, my fifth incarnation. She was the wife of James Madison. And it sounds crazy to a lot of people, but if you are studying these things, it's not crazy. I mean, these are people. Seth is actually Benjamin Franklin. Now, wow. But what would Benjamin Franklin be doing now? He would be trying to help us. And that's what he's doing. And he wrote the Seth material. He called himself Seth after I guess the third son of Adam. It's also an Egyptian god's name. Cleopatra, when she was alive, she said she was the goddess Isis, which is like the top female goddess. Okay, so you can believe that or not, and it doesn't really matter, because these could be, just mythology. What's important isn't who's who or what's what. What's important is that we contact our incarnational selves, work with them, and we learn the nature of reality, which is everything's mind. We're a strand. Albert Einstein knew this. We're a strand of consciousness. This is the space-time continuum. The space-time continuum creates an illusion of solid matter. This is Einstein back in 1905. E equals mc squared. So he understood that idea. It's easy to understand it. It's harder to really get it to come in deep where you can really work with it. But when we can start working with these things, and we've known them before, when we die, I probably should bring this up, that when we pass the death illusion, I call it, we enter the etheric double, or the etheric plane, where things are a little bit less physical, and I can bang it on a table or something like that, and your hand might go through it in the etheric double. So you're in the same ideas, the same symbols, the same images. All the five physical senses are still working, but they're a little bit less solid in the etheric double. And then from there, generally you don't know what to do, you can't handle it, so it got driven by erotic emotions or by love back into the physical world, and that's your next reincarnation. If your mind is stable, if you've been working with your mind to be clearer, you can do it through meditation. You can go to Buddhist temples and learn meditation. You can do it on your own. There's lots of books on it. Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, they know these things, and they're true. These are legitimate people. I would say the Seth material is way up higher, because Seth is like an icon in the internal world. The same Benjamin Franklin, who was so significant in the founding of the United States. Dolly Madison was also significant, my fifth incarnation, being married to James Madison. And so this is what we need to do. We need to contact incarnational selves, They will contact us. It might be easy. It might take a long time to do it. But if you want to get past all the nonsense that this world feeds you, which it does, I mean, we're told that by the science that we're going to die, and that's it, you know. So why would you even live if you're going to die? It doesn't make any sense. That's completely illogical. Christians follow Jesus, and Jesus did say, you know, he talked about those who are asleep and those who are awake, those who are dead, and those who are blind. So he was explaining that, but they put the cross in there. And the cross is really a mythological what do you call it? A narrative. It isn't going to save you, but what the cross did, and it's important that it did, it created the Christian church, because people back in the old days didn't, at that time, the first century, they wouldn't have latched on to mind creates the physical world. They didn't do that, and that's what Paul and John the Baptist, or John is Zebedee, is the same person. That was Seth also. Seth was John, and so that's what they found, was they couldn't build a church on that, but they could build a church on the crucifixion, because that idea somebody had been crucified, and the Romans said it was Jesus, a man who had been doing healing in the temple of Jerusalem. So they ran with that idea. At least they ran with it for some reason. I've got a book on that called The Incarnation, Cleopatra's Story of Jesus. I've also got a book called Cleopatra and Exelon, which follows. It's fiction based on true events, where in the alpha state I'm visiting them, and I did that. The alpha state, that's between waking and sleeping, maybe in a dream, maybe in your kind of vision, and that's where I picked up all this information, and we all have that state between waking and sleeping. That's like the magical state. If you can get into there, you can go back in time, you can go forward in time. And I met my incarnational self. Some of them had already resolved, and they were not available. But it was generally the women that had not resolved, and the men had. And so the men weren't available, and that were in my 7 rounds, except me, of course. So I got with my incarnations, Cleopatra and Dolly Madison, and also Anne Frank, my 6th incarnational self. They were very helpful to me, and I'm very helpful to them, and we're resolving that. Dolly is going to come back into this world. She's going to time travel back into this world. She's doing that now, and I'm like a placemat for her, where she takes my physical energy, and her consciousness dissolves Ron's Ron by birth, Ron's consciousness, and she will be here, and she'll be here to help you folks. Since we're the same awareness, in some way I will still be a part of her. I'm not completely clear to me, but it becomes clearer every day. So the world is not what you think, unless you're into metaphysics. But it's an exciting place. It's completely safe. There's no need to worry about anything. Your higher self can make anything happen. Accidents are planned, and diseases are unnecessary. They're the mind falling asleep creates the diseases. See, your mind keeps your body healthy. Your heartbeat, your breathing, although you can enter your breathing, but it happens automatically. All of your functions, your physical functions, are controlled by mind. So if your mind starts going haywire, or if you want to get out of here, get out of the world, the mind will do that. It'll help you to get out of the world. And if you get really scared and fearful, the mind will get jumbled. If you're jumbled, your mind will be jumbled, and it's not going to be able to keep your body maintained, and you'll start getting like sore throats and things like that. High blood pressure or something, and or cancer even. But cancer is just a word. There's no such thing as cancer. This comes from Seth directly. There's nothing that isn't curable. Change your mind, and you'll cure your diseases if you truly believe it. And the medical profession just says, well, everybody, most everybody dies when this happens. When they get to this stage for cancer. But that's just what they're learning. I mean, that's what they see. It's not what is. What is, and if they tell you you're going to die, then that will set you in motion to die. So you don't have to die. But it might be the best way out. But it might not. You want to be healthy and think healthy. Don't succumb to negative thoughts. Think health, good health. And if you truly believe that you will return to good health, then you will return to good health because your mind will take you there. Your mind works for you. And so what we're trying to do is awaken so that we realize we have a mind. That mind is controlling our reality. And we want to we want to recognize that, and that's what living in the present moment is. That's what be here now means. It means I'm living in this moment. This moment is the point of power. Whatever I imagine, I can change my thoughts and make happen what I want to happen. I'm not. The doctor can't tell me I'm going to die from cancer. I can die from cancer if I'm not wanting to continue living. Otherwise, the mind will give you just what you want, but the mind doesn't know what you want unless you're clear on it. So that's the whole thing. Keep in mind we have 7 incarnations. All of them want to help us. And the incarnations that have already resolved, I'm not clear on that. They're still here in some way. They're attached to one of our they attach their personalities. But there are 7 personalities in an entity, in an incarnational round. So I think that's it. Thank you. I'll see you next time.